I'd like to give you an update on where we are today and highlight a few strategic advantages we enjoy on this soon-to-be 80-year-old installation. Over the last 10 months, our airmen have implemented countless innovative temporary fixes to bring missions back online, consistent with our Secretary's guidance. By the numbers, as you heard in the video that we just played, today at Tyndall we're doing nearly all of our pre-storm missions. We're doing it with about 80% of our people, and we're doing it in only half of our facilities because that's all that survived the storm. As we repair the buildings still standing, then rebuild the facilities we've lost, we have an opportunity to get it right. Our message is simple. The base is strategically important, and we have an opportunity in the next few years to rebuild not the disparate base that we had, but a resilient, integrated, and efficient base that we need for the future. Our airmen are doing their missions for now, but they are doing so with temporary solutions that simply will not last forever. And that is why we need your help. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So this is the reason we are here. As everyone knows, Bay County, Florida took a direct hit from Hurricane Michael on the 10th of October, 2018. As you can see in the picture behind me, the 15-mile wide eye passed directly over the base. At landfall, we had 484 buildings on base. The storm destroyed half of them. The other half are in varying degrees of disrepair and need to be fixed. Today, we're going to show you how we plan to fix them. But before we do that, I would like to tell you just a little bit about why. Why are we going to do it? Go to the next slide, please. Tyndall is a strategically important base to our nation's national defense. As you heard in the video, it sits on 29,000 acres, and I think those 29,000 acres have unlimited future growth potential. As our missions have grown throughout our history and will continue to grow in the future, we must ensure compatible growth with our surrounding community. We do not have the encroachment challenges that some other bases have. Our first protection from encroachment is the land itself. Of those 29,000 acres, 70% of them are uninhabited, and we maintain them in their natural state. Our second layer of protection is our 129 miles of coastline and our water boundaries on 3 sides. The third layer of protection, as you heard from Mr. Neubauer, is a fiercely protective local community who is committed to working together toward mutually beneficial long-term solutions. As you can see in the picture behind me, one of the things that makes Tyndall unique are our 3 distinct runway environments, none of which are in close proximity to any heavily populated areas. The first runway complex, which is on your left, back behind me, is where we conduct the majority of our manned flight operations. The middle runway complex, as you move towards Mexico Beach, is our drone runway. That is where we launch all of our remotely piloted aircraft. One of the things that makes that airstrip unique is we can launch remotely piloted aircraft off of that runway and fly them directly into our vast range complex, which is right along our southern border. At no point in time do those aircraft ever leave military-controlled, restricted airspace. The third of our 3 runway environments is the one you see to the far right, the one closest to Mexico Beach. That's our Silver Flag complex. Now, we don't fly aircraft off of that runway. Instead, our civil engineers, they detonate live munitions on that runway to see how quickly they can repair them as they practice their tactics, their techniques, and their procedures before they deploy downrange to fight our nation's wars. So our geography is unique, and it is a significant mission enabler, but it's not our only mission enabler. Please go to the next slide. The ranges that surround Tyndall Air Force Base are simply some of the best ranges anywhere in the Department of Defense. We have protected overland ranges to the north and to the east. That's where we conduct all of our Air Control Squadron, Air Battle Manager Schoolhouse training sorties, and a good number of our fighter sorties as well. To the south, we have overwater ranges that extend all the way to Key West, if needed. These ranges are protected by congressional moratorium east of the military mission line, depicted in the picture on the bottom right of the chart as you look at it from your seat. Both the Air Force and the Navy routinely use this range for long-range testing of our munitions, and will continue to do so into the future. This vast range enables our combat archer exercise, which is where the Air Force does its air-to-air missile shots. Tyndall's geography also enables the unique checkered flag exercise, which is a high-end 4th and 5th generation fighter integration effort. Tyndall is depicted by the star that you see in the chart on the top left. It is geographically situated right in the middle of a lot of key bases where we bring fighters and tankers from all over the Southeast to join us for this large exercise. We commonly fly fighters in from places like New Orleans to the west, Jacksonville to the east, Montgomery to the north, Fort Walton Beach also to our west. Tankers fly up from Tampa. If you look on the map, which is up here, right in the middle of all of those cities sits the star, and that's Tyndall Air Force Base. So when we do these large exercises, all of those aircraft can fly from their home station and meet off the coast of Tyndall in that tremendous range complex that we have. That makes Tyndall the perfect centrally located airbase to host unique and important exercises like that are key to the readiness of our nation's Air Force. So yes, Tyndall is strategically important.
The National Defense Strategy states that we must be able to fight and win against 2 of those near-peer adversaries while maintaining a 3rd low-threat conflict. So I'll tell you this, and everyone here knows it, every branch of the military agrees that conventional war is won in the air. And so thank you for the contribution that you make to ensure that the United States always holds the high ground. Our military strength comes not only from our ability to engage and destroy the enemy, but also from our superior logistical, training, and testing capabilities. In addition to these enhancements, we're very proud of the F-35 mission here. And so as we take on these future initiatives and encourage the alignment of our local academic institutions to the job requirements, to the needs of the customer behind the wire, I am hopeful that the best days still are ahead for the organic growth of our industries and the future prosperity for all who are building their businesses to support the warfighter here in Northwest Florida. So I encourage your feedback. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share my thoughts on Northwest Florida and where our military mission is heading. And as we undertake the most important job that we have to rebuild Tyndall Air Force Base and ensure that we continue to be the most friendly community to the military mission in the country, I'm excited about working with you. Thank you all so much for having me.
The Air Force leadership stated a visionary intent to rebuild Tyndall as an installation of the future. You guys are going to hear this over and over and over. We were not just going to rebuild the base we had. We are intent on building the base we need. A base that's going to be relative for the next 100 years. Hurricane Michael presented us a very unique opportunity to develop and implement innovative city planning concepts. Because there was such widespread devastation, this really is almost kind of an engineer's dream to almost get to start from scratch with building a base. And so we're being very thoughtful about how we're looking to see what cities, municipalities, metroplexes are doing in terms of smart cities. The Air Force knows that there's much more technology available in the commercial arena, and so we ask for industry's help to identify innovative concepts that we could use for the reconstruction. You all will remember after our first industry day, the 772nd Enterprise Sourcing Squadron published a call for white papers in FBO, and the bottom line is you guys brought it, and you brought it in spades. We had 68 different entities that responded, submitting 98 white papers covering 132 separate concepts. We had almost as many ideas related to master planning concepts, design standards, and innovation in construction. And last but certainly not least, we had some very good ideas about how to manage such a large and complex undertaking as trying to rebuild an entire base in effectively one fell swoop. So we appreciate all that. So after we broke the papers and topics out by groups, we reached out to subject matter experts, largely within the Air Force, but we also did get some help from the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering. We had a group there that helped us look at some of the smart basing and resiliency papers. We asked the reviewers to consider the highest potential value of the concepts presented, and then give it a yes, a no, or a maybe, and then provide some comments to support that yes, no, or maybe. So the Air Force reviewers included subject matter experts from the Air Force Civil Engineering Center Operations, Energy, Facilities Engineering, and Environmental Directorates. We also had several folks from the Air Force Research Lab that looked at some of the papers. And then we also had our Organic Tyndall Program Management Office staff take a look at these and give us feedback. As I said, the detailed analysis identified what we felt was the highest potential value concept. And then evaluations were categorized based on potential benefit and associated risk with the idea. So just a quick summary of our analysis. We're going to move forward with, or have already begun moving forward with, in some fashion, over 50% of the concepts that you all submitted. About a third of them have merit, but we feel like we need to do a little bit of additional analysis to make sure that, or do some further coordination to make sure that there will be a viable option.
As you're aware, our senior leaders ask us to rebuild at Tyndall, not the base we had, but to the base that we need, as Colonel Laidlaw mentioned earlier. A digitally integrated air base for the 21st century. You may have heard this referred to also as the installation of the future. Tyndall is a unique opportunity to do something different and innovative to align well with the Chief of Staff's vision for Tyndall Air Force Base. Air Force leadership established both the process and the planning guidance to ensure we plan to build the Tyndall Air Force Base that we need, not the Tyndall Air Force Base that we had. This slide has the key goals for the rebuild and articulates some of those initial ideas on just what the installation of the future should be here at Tyndall. Please note two key elements reflected on this slide talk about reducing cost. This is really important because the installation of the future is not about building a shiny air base. We absolutely are in a cost-constrained Air Force. The installation of the future is about incorporating modern technologies and techniques to reduce the total cost of ownership to our physical plant. We enlisted the help of one of our industry partners and awarded a planning contract in December 2018 to develop 3 primary planning districts. The contracted effort looked at these 3 planning areas. I'm going to shine on this side. The Flight Line District, which is north of 98, the Support District, located south, and then over to the right, the Crooked Island District.
What we wanted to do early on was say, okay, if we're going to have to rebuild this air base, let's do this in a way that's simple and doesn't require us to do 150 different contract actions and 150 different design reviews, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's carve this base up into sectors, and let's award large contracts by sector so that the major construction companies that can take this level of work on are able to do it effectively. So the base is broken up into 12 zones. Each zone, and the envision is, that zone is going to be awarded to a single design-build contractor. Each zone is going to have multiple facilities from 1 to 15 plus. And that design-build contractor is going to be responsible for sort of self-deconflicting within that zone. So anything from haul route to laydown site to security access, all of that's done by a single contractor, not the 5 or 10 or 15 getting in each other's way in the zones. So that's why we decided to do this. The zones were carved out sort of based on the way the base was mapped out and the way most Air Force bases are laid out, which is there's sort of community sectors, there's mission, there's the flight line, everything surrounding it, there's a community area. So each of the 12 zones has essentially a unique geography to some extent. 2 of the zones have the geography of the entire base essentially, but largely they're broken down by function and geography, not necessarily by facility type. The bottom bullet here, and in the interest of full disclosure, we want to be as candid and as open with you, the supporting population, as we can. One of the things that we discovered early on, and if you look at scope of our program, the The typical MILCON year for the Air Force is about $1.5 billion worth of MILCON projects executed across planet Earth. Tyndall is a $3 billion pop-up, which is twice of our annual total MILCON program. So it's a lot to take on. We were only ever staffed to manage sort of the workload that we have. So we've got a surge of work to be done here. So not only do we need help from the design and construction industry, we need support from the advisory and assistance services and the A&E community to help us kind of tackle this level of work.
It's an exciting time to be at Tyndall right now. It really is. I mean, there is no other installation in the United States where we have essentially a blank campus. And being part of something like this is going to be amazing.